Good morning. This is the Plains Roll podcast, where we have conversations that are worth hearing and seeing. You can watch each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, get more information about our past episodes at my website, which is behind me, blainsworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here coming to you in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. And each week we share positive news and uplifting stories about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and third country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce Caleb Owolabi, media producer, and Stephanie Twitty, CEO of Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation, for being my guest today. And folks, feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this on YouTube. Okay, and that is Caleb and Stephanie. Caleb is a media producer with a strong focus on storytelling, visual production, and content strategy. He works across the full production cycle from concept development and planning to filming, editing, and distribution, creating content that is both engaging and purpose-driven. With an eye for detail and a solid understanding of digital media platforms, he produces work that connects with audiences and supports brand and creative goals. Stephanie is the CEO of Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation. As an African American woman with a background in finance, she's acutely aware of the hurdles and disadvantages that people face while trying to scale their businesses. With Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation, she works to find innovative market-driven solutions to pressing economic issues, including the distribution of wealth in the United States. And so, thanks for joining me, folks. And since Stephanie, you and I haven't met before, let me start off with you if I can. And the first question I always ask is, as a woman, a young woman, where did you grow up?
So I was born and nurtured in Western North Carolina, more specifically in McDowell County, Western North Carolina. I went to school and in McDowell County in elementary school. Went to undergrad at Montreat School of Adult and Professional Studies and did some my core studies there as well. So all of my life, I have been a resident of Western North Carolina. So yeah.
And when you were younger, as a young woman, did you always know you wanted to be a CEO of a development corporation in Western North Carolina? Was that your
I
goal?
did not.
No.
My aspirations lay in journalism and marketing and promotion. As a young woman, I thought I was going to be the next Robin Roberts. I quickly came to my senses when I realized that to be in that profession, you have to be able to feed yourself. And so I quickly pivoted and saw that the business world was a place where you might be able to do that, Blaine. And so I married those two things kind of, and that's how we got to this position of CEO. So
And it's
yeah.
funny, as you mentioned that with what you're doing with Caleb now, you perhaps have a second chance to go into this now, Robin, this career that she did. But let me just ask you then, briefly, if you can, uh, with respect to Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation, you've been with them for how long?
Roughly 22 plus years.
So you started what, when you were 17? Was that it?
Oh,
You,
you're too kind, sir. Too kind.
the youngest woman ever to head an organization such as that. But that's pretty
That's
cool.
right.
How'd you get into that?
A brief but interesting story. I was launching my second career coming out of banking, finance, and retail. I started again my business career as a teller with the larger financial institutions like Wachovia Bank back in the day, which is now Wells Fargo. I moved along the corridor to be a branch manager for a small community or a credit union. At the time, it was United Services Credit Union. It morphed into Self-Help Credit Union. Um, and so I was at the ripe old age of numbers, not to be mentioned here, saying, "Oh, gee, I think I'll retire." And in that retirement, I met a wonderful woman, Elizabeth Russell, who wooed me through a program called AmeriCorps. And
Okay.
AmeriCorps, for the first time, was looking at bringing itself onshore, meaning coming from foreign ministry into American shores to bring volunteers into community development corporations. And so Elizabeth hired me into Eagle Market Streets through their AmeriCorps as an AmeriCorps volunteer. I served them 2 years, was on my way to attaining my Bachelor of Science in Management degree when Elizabeth decided that she wanted to transition from the executive director role and petition the board to bring me on as CEO. And so the rest is kind of history.
Very nice. And
Yeah,
we'll come back to the organization in just a second. But let me turn
yeah.
to Caleb, if I can. And Caleb, the same kind of questions that I've known you for a while now. And in terms of the work you're doing in the media and some of the things you're doing now, how did you get into this whole field?
Yeah, I think, being in media is an ever-changing landscape, one. Especially now, the way things were done maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago is vastly almost very different than now. And I know we'll get into the podcast studio that Stephanie and I are working on together, and it will be stationed in downtown Nashville. But it was impressed upon us that people needed a place to speak and tell their stories that wasn't as incredibly well produced as like a documentary that we would put on Amazon Prime or something that we would take to a larger streaming network, but rather something that's a little bit more grassroots. And people seem to be taking a liking to the podcast format, and they're listening all the way through. So we have great retention numbers from that. And so we felt maybe we should do this not only with the audio, but with also, video aspect and, kind of fulfill that need. And I mean, working with somebody like Stephanie, who's been a mentor to me for very many years. In fact, she knows my family, she knows my father for several years. So having her to kind of oversee this and working with her directly is really an honor. And it's really kind of a full circle moment for me as someone that grew up in this Western North Carolina area, now getting to work with some of my heroes that I've always admonished for many years. So this is kind of a full circle moment for me and an opportunity to kind of give again back to the community, which is really important to me.
And talk about the fact, Caleb, you mentioned that we're going to be doing a podcast, but podcasts, interesting, have morphed into now, I used to call them webcasts, but now they just call them a podcast. So people have the opportunity to do both. They'll be able to do a podcast, but there'll be a video component if they want.
Absolutely. So it's all video and it's audio, so they'll be captured both, and both be used for our publishing platform, which we use a variety of different platforms when it comes to that. But however, the it's essentially a table and mic. The whole concept is called Table and Mic, which was coined by Stephanie. She came up with that name and is licensing that name currently. But Table and Mic is basically people coming at a table and talking about what's important to them. And so everyone that comes to the studio has an opportunity to tell their story. We don't try to change it or mold it. We assist them. We can help them with scripting if need be. We can help them with how to do it. But really, they come and do their thing. And we're just there for technical support. publishing support, and of course, on the business side, our incubator is there to kind of assist those who already have a burgeoning podcast or a kind of an influencer based platform and that want to share more of that more episodically in the form of, show formats similar to Blaine's World, which is another great example of a podcast that's done really well, been consistent, and has touched a lot of community members far and abroad.
And I like what you said, Caleb, too, that hopefully they'll get either from this broadcast or working with the two of you, that nice thing about it doesn't require a great deal of money, so that you can
Right.
be telling your story right away. I have to go back to Stephanie in terms of agreeing with Caleb. I just love that name, Table and Mike. How do you come up with that name, Stephanie?
That's a good question. Um, Caleb and I were working with a lovely, talented young woman who is an author. And is publishing or has published a new book that's coming out soon. And as we were doing that, we were looking at how to film this her book that's coming out, and we it's a book about women and how women engage with each other, and how this new book built on the previous book. And we were saying, we in this moment that we would bring together the women and have them kind of be in a setting of a home and a kitchen. And so we said, oh, well, we would film this and we would call it Kicking It in the Kitchen. Well, as we started to put that together, Caleb, in his ec- due diligence and expert way, did the search and discovered that Kicking It in the Kitchen was already branded. And so we sat with it and thought about it, and but that needy a nudge on me to put something kitchen, something just would not let go. And finally, Table and Mike came to me, and I thought, we're gonna have a conversation, and we're gonna be at a mic, and we're gonna be at a table. And so Table and Mike was born.
Great
So
concept. And well, I'm so glad to have you on the show today is also because it gives me a chance to talk about Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation. And I've heard about it, but I have to say I've been remiss. I think the first show I've ever done on it. So if you can, kind of Reader's Digest version of Eagle Market Streets Development Corporation. And I want to put you on the spot, Stephanie. I'm going to ask you to keep it to under 3 hours. So if you can tell me the story of Eagle Market Streets. What's it all about, seriously?
sure. So, well, we're my audience and yourself are in luck. I've told this story enough times that I think I can keep it under 24 hours. So, yeah, but I Eagle Market Streets has an amazing history. We, like many not-for-profits, sprang out of a grassroots effort to do the thing. And the thing at the time was to save some historic properties that had come under blight and slum due to urban removal during the 70s. So, better known as urban renewal. But we all know that urban renewal often meant that the gentrification that came in actually destroyed some things that weren't really blighted and slummed. It really just destroyed communities and lives and individual opportunities that left in its wake real estate and businesses and other things. So in the Eagle Market Streets district, as we also known as the block, were these properties, the Del Cardo, the Dr. Colette, the Masonic Temple, and the Jeannie Blair and Dr. Blair properties. Eagle Market Streets formed under Dr. John Grant and his church, Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church, decided that they wanted to hold in trust those properties um, for redevelopment. And that's how Eagle Market Streets was born in 1994. They came together and around Dr. Grant's table in his kitchen, full circle, and decided that they would form themselves into Eagle Market Streets because it involved South Market Street, Eagle Street, and Charlotte Street at that time, and went on to charter themselves into a 501(c)(3) and petitioned the city for support to purchase those properties and hold them until they could be developed into what is now Eagle Market Place residences and commercial properties. And that's how we were born.
But it's interesting. So I kind of know where the Eagle Street area is, but Masonic Temple isn't, it's off to the side, right? It's not part of that
It's
same.
right below. So for those who are listening and those who have some idea of the proximity of properties, if you know where the YMI Cultural Center is, 132 old edifice in downtown Asheville, adjacent to the Asheville Foundry Hotel, directly across from those properties is the Eagle Marketplace commercial and residential properties. And that the Del Cardo is the iconic property sitting on the corner. Right below it is the Masonic Temple. It
Got it.
used to be, for many of you, Mr. Frog's restaurant.
Okay. So now if you would fast forward to where Caleb comes on board. So you've been in business for a while, Eagle Street Development Corporation. Now all of a sudden you're now in the podcasting business or going to be in the podcasting business. And ironically, as we speak, it's probably going to be officially off the ground, what, hopefully in the next week or so.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so, Caleb, if I can turn to you a little bit, what's the idea of bringing this podcast studio on board and what's that going to entail?
Well, it's just years of, I think since I was 21 is when I started really when I was introduced to the media field when I was in college. And since then, as you know, Blaine, as we've been on stage together, I've done things behind the scenes, on stage, with camera, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, and all in between. So to me, it's been over the last 10 years building a strong team that's local, that can ensure that what is produced has a national footprint. So I think that's the thing we're trying to put inside this small community space. Stephanie being very focused on community development, hence the name with Eagle Market Street Development Corporation. They know development, they know community, they know the need that arise. And so us coming together, we're bringing our media machine in with the community and providing a service that we've been doing for a long time, just in a different format. And so what we want to do is invite people to apply for our incubator. And what the incubator is essentially it's open application. If you're interested in having your own podcast, or maybe you are a streamer, or perhaps you do other things online and you're looking to kind of expand your reach, or perhaps maybe you don't have any of those things, but you have some affability about you. You always wanted to be on camera. You were told you could be on camera, or maybe you even do things, in more of the theatrical musical sense, and you want to branch into the media field in an easier way, more feasible, cost-effective way, that's what the incubator is for. And so we are allowing for people to submit not only from Asheville, but Western North Carolina, up to Tri-Cities, Tennessee, and Greenville, South Carolina. We want to survey the whole of the region for those who are willing to expand their reach and really do a podcast that has a national and can have a national footprint. And so we will aid in that in that kind of fine comb through of the best applications, and we hope to keep the incubator open so those who maybe didn't get in on the first run, hopefully they can apply to the second run. We just want to keep the incubator going so that we can kind of look at everybody that's interested in the area. Like, we want everybody. There's no we want everyone. There's no kind of limit to who you are, what you are. Bring yourself to the table and mic.
I know Stephanie wants to jump in here. Stephanie, I mean to cut you off before, but you had a comment?
No, I just wanted to say very much that I think that the again, it's full circle here in terms of being able to document the history of the block and of the Eagle Market Streets district. One of the things I think that has been a struggle for the not-for-profits and for the culture is being able to tell our story, to document our story, and to have it be maintained for posterity. We just have not been able to do a good job of that, and that's because you don't have good storytellers.
Well, by the
And
way,
so
no, it sounds like then I hear a project for Caleb also sounds there. Are we going to have a story then? Are we going to tell the story of Eagle of the corporation? Is that one of the projects?
It's definitely been on the docket. We've been wanting to do that for a long time. Stephanie and I have talked about that. It seems like Stephanie's heart is always for the community and telling other people's stories. Like I said, Stephanie executive produced The Rotating Chef, which is a cooking series,
Okay.
6-part cooking series. It's on Tubi, Amazon Prime. We might have come on air to talk about that
We
as
did.
well
We
with
talked about it. Yeah.
Blaine's. Yeah. And, she's executive producing another, 6-part episodic series featuring Tracy Green Washington and her newest book, which will be out by the time the show comes out. But it's like she's always looking at putting people ahead of herself because it's her job, but it's also, I think, it hurts her heart. If you do you go look at day in a life in Stephanie's life, she's in the community. She's meeting with people. She's having coffee with people. They have a number of different financial tools to help small businesses. And so I think that's definitely on the docket. But I think, Stephanie's got a lot of things on her plate and wants to be cognizant and intentional about the time she spends.
And if you can, Stephanie, since we've talked about it, so another component of this is, you said, the incubator. Explain what that is and who's that for and what's it going to be all about?
Yeah.
No, let me
Yeah.
have Stephanie answer. Yeah.
No, for me, the incubator is this amazing opportunity to help individuals and small businesses who are leaning into being podcasters, to have this space that might not otherwise have a space, that might not otherwise have this amazing equipment that we have amassed to be able to walk in this world. Again, I think when we think about podcasting, or I think about podcasting and I think about storytelling, oftentimes we aren't able to do these things because we don't have the tools to do them. Our studio will offer them that amazing ability to have that equipment and have that those tools to do it. alongside of that, often there isn't a mentor like a Caleb Owolabi that can come alongside them and give them that expertise in of knowledge base. So I think if you talk about a win-win, Table and Mike absolutely gives you a win-win by giving you both the tools and the knowledge base to hone your skills.
If you would just elaborate a little bit more on the concept of it being an incubator. So if somebody's out there listening and they want to do a podcast or hook in with you folks, what's the next step or what do they do at that point in time?
So when you think about an incubator, the best analogy as a female to give you incubation is you think about a female who is incubating, and you have 9 months. And at the end of 9 months, you must deliver. So it's the same principle. You come into the space, you lease the space for a certain amount of time, you gain your skills and your ability to build your business, scale your business, get your knowledge base, and you pay for that. At a sliding scale fee in some cases. And once you have that, then you rotate out so that others can come in and take advantage of that as well. So that's how incubation of business works.
It's
So
interesting. So
you want to
that
add some?
well, that's then a relatively short time period. So it's just 9 months. They're in and out. And let me ask you, Caleb, then, since I guess they'll be working with you during that 9 months, what will
Yeah.
happen during that time?
And so, yeah, like I said, we'd have an opt-in form for folks to apply, and real easy. We want to the barrier entry is low to apply. It doesn't cost anything for you to apply. I want you to apply. We want to read through what you have, and again, it's not just Stephanie and I. There's a group of producers that I work with that review things that are in the area. And we basically at the end of their incubation, one thing we want to have is a full season 1 of their new show. We want to have portfolio photos for them so they can use to promote for tune-ins, for ads, and for other kind of spotlights for their show. And we also want to do a trailer as well. So by the end of it, they have something that we can publish because I need at least 6 episodes of something to publish it. And then number 2, I have something that can grow into a season 2. The whole purpose is for their product to mature in season. Again, there's no better example that I know in town than Blaine's World. I've watched Blaine's World, knowing Blaine. I remember Blaine telling me in person to, hey, look out for my Blaine's World. I registered through my email, and I got newsletters, and then you got into the video, and you're video, but you were also at one point at WPVM, and you were doing that same concept of, hey, I've got my radio show, but I also have a newsletter, and that allows for area businesses to come alongside of that show. So that's what we want to do, is professionalize their approach. Again, we want streamers, influencers, if you're a podcaster or you're a budding podcaster, maybe you are an actor or thespian and you want to get into the digital world, you have something to say. But even, the studio is also open for hourly rentals. So maybe you have a book and you want to do an audiobook for a book you've just written. You can come do it at the studio. If you want to do a eulogy for a loved one, you can do that as well. But the incubator serves as a way for us to guide those new podcasting talents in our area and really help them to succeed and get national attention on their podcast. So that's kind of a lot of, and you, Blaine, you've known a lot of my work is usually I try to tell a story locally and try to get it on national platforms. And so we've been successful at doing that. Thankfully, we want to do the same thing for this new incubator class.
Back to the name of the concept, Table and Mike. People learn, I guess, at your place there, but can they do this out of their home?
We do. So that's a very good question that you offered. Is that there are some people that are already doing their podcast. Maybe they're doing it at home, or they
Right.
want to do some in the studio. And we're going to be flexible, and that's kind of why Stephanie mentioned the sliding scale. The incubator is to help those who want to be successful. So we want to meet you where you are and incubate you. You might already be somewhat developed, but you still may need a little incubation. We want to help with that. Or you might be not developed at all. We can still incubate you. So absolutely, if those were people that already kind of have something going on in their space, the one thing that we always make sure, right, is that the quality cinematically is quality. So I mean, we have everything in our studio in terms of cameras, our 4K mirrorless. We have a switchboard and an engineer, so we're cutting from camera A to B to C. We have, the state of the art, mics, and everything is lit to be even so that it's appropriate for a Netflix, which is now taking on podcasts. It's appropriate for an Amazon Prime. It's appropriate for a Spotify, which is starting to take on, more video podcasts. So there's a lot of push in the industry as well to receive such, podcasts that are, well produced and polished. So that's what we hope to do.
And so one of the things I'm hearing you say too, it's, people may have a typical concept of a podcast, you know, 30 minutes every once a week or whatever, but this
Yeah.
go way beyond that, so you could use it for a video story. You just want to,
Right.
and you've done some beautiful work in that area. If people want to still make a story, their story, they could do this working with you. Like
Exactly.
the one I think did such a great job with that, what was it, the dentist? You told
Right.
his story.
Dr.
So
Stamatides. Yeah.
but so if somebody wanted to tell their story without having a specific video, a specific podcast, they could do that working with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So a lot of people nowadays they're self-publishing.
Right.
That's a big and popular thing. So now instead of trying to figure out where am I going to publish it, where am I going to go to film myself or record myself talking about my book, now I can come to Table and Mic and do it all there. And it's right in downtown. I can park, walk in. It's easy. And we assist in that as well. So the incubator is a way of reaching out to people, kind of an outreach, but also in the same time, we've got inbound outreach, and that is, the hourly, studio fees. And if you want to come in and say, well, hey, I want to, spend, a month, like just kind of working through my script or my book, we work with them and on this sliding scale. So we really want to be friendly to the community and what they're able to do to ensure they're successful in whatever their project is.
And what's interesting they're saying about this ties back into what Stephanie said earlier about her earlier career. I can see you, Stephanie, coming back to what you wanted to do way back when and becoming this. You become an Asheville's Oprah, or whatever you want to call yourself. But do you see yourself involved in any of the interviewing part of this, or being on on stage, so to speak?
Sure. Yeah. I think that Caleb and I have some things that we'll be working on together. We've got a couple of programs that I think that will be uniquely Eagle programs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having this be as exciting for us as it is for the incubating businesses. Absolutely.
Do you see
Yeah.
yourself being the moderator at all?
So, I don't know about that. Caleb has that pretty much sewed up. But I certainly see myself being a co-host.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, I could see it come
Yeah.
back to what you want to do years ago. And Caleb obviously would be great on this. Tell me, if you would, folks, as we wrap up, where do you see this going? So I'll turn first to Stephanie. Um, 10 years from now, where do you see this being?
So very much I would hope that we would continue to grow the opportunity to where young entrepreneurs and individuals who are interested in media can have a outlet where they can get a start. Maybe they are in drama and they want to take it to the next step and but they don't want to get behind the camera just yet, but they have that nudge and they just want to start somewhere. So maybe it's podcasting. And we'll still be there to give them that space to do that. I would hope that we would be able to still be able to give a voice to the community to tell their story, that not-for-profits who need a space to come and tell their story, that Table and Mike would be there and they could come in and tell their stories. So yeah.
But it could be for more than just nonprofits, so is that correct?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Any community that member or individual that needed a space to be able to tell their story, but particularly nonprofits, because I have watched over the years as they have just not had a good venue to be able to tell their stories. So yeah.
And Stephanie, if folks want to get more information about this, what's the best bet?
So currently the best opportunity to reach out about Table and Mike would be to contact us at info at eaglemarketsts.org.
Okay. And there'll also be information if they want to find out more. We'll put today's podcast on it, but there'll be more information about Table and Mike on that website as well.
That's correct.
Okay. And Caleb, I'll turn to you if I can then, my friend. So we're doing this right now. 10 years from now, I'll kind of put you on the spot. I'll ask you two things, both with respect to Table and Mike and beyond Table and Mike. Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's about 10, almost 11 years ago, I met Blaine. And I had the opportunity to meet you. And I think if somebody would have told me 10 years ago that you would be here where you are,
Interesting.
that I wouldn't have believed them, that I'd be operating in this way with media at this high level. And I think that all it took as a young Caleb was to see a professional production, how it works, and to see the behind the scenes as well as in front of the scenes. And that kind of goes for every single show, that professionality behind the camera and in front of the camera. And when cameras aren't rolling, when we're developing and in the business aspect of it, it happened. It goes without saying. So I think that in 10 years, I see a lot of people. I see nonprofits. I see community members. I see even for-profits getting involved with the space and learning how to put together professional production that has a national footprint without having to compromise any more, real estate within the community. So now all of a sudden, the people in our community are speaking to the nation, and they didn't have to they didn't have to fly to another city to do it, or travel outside of the confines of their home. So I just think, doing that, inspiring again more young people. Like again, I was 10 years ago, I was just graduating college, and so now to see that it is possible. It's possible to put a professional media piece together and get it out to the world. And so that's kind of what we hope to do 10 years from now.
And the same question I asked Stephanie, I assume if folks want to get in touch with you or reach you, they could reach you through this website, be the best way to reach you. Caleb?
Oh yeah. You're talking to me and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
absolutely. So yeah, I'm gonna send Blaine over to you the opt-in form and the flyer, so people can directly begin to apply right now, and they can absolutely reach out to the email that Stephanie gave. If they want to reach out to me personally, they can at caleb080@gmail.com, and I'm happy to get them going as far as their incubation form, opt-in form, and get them more information.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'd like to thank both of you for being my guests today on this edition of the Blaine's World webcast. And also, I'd like to thank my producer, Cap Dissetti. Hopefully, we'll bump into you sometime in the near future, if not before. Thanks, guys. You were great.
Thank you so
Awesome.
much,
Thank you,
Blaine.
Blaine.
This has been great. Thank you.
Really appreciate you, Blaine. Thank you.